I used to budget and spend around 5 to 8 grand per pageant that I was doing. And I don't know what's crazier. Is it that I just said that number and that's a lot? Or is it that I'm looking at it and going, that's kind of low? Like, did I really get all the resources I needed to make that happen? But whether you think that's a lot or a little, here is the truth. Pageants are expensive. Life is expensive and the cost of everything is going up. And that's not meant to be a, a downside. That's not meant to be a flaw. That is just the cold hard facts. Inflation, prices of everything, everything is going up and it's more expensive. Gals, like when I competed in my first pageant, I think I spent $0. Like actually $0 compared to like my last pageant, which I probably spent about 5 grand, and I only had a month to prepare. Okay. Like context here. But here's the thing, I don't think that's a bad thing. And I made a post about this on Instagram that completely popped off. I totally thought the haters were going to come for me and like the budget girlies were going to be like, man, this is so bad. But no, everyone was like, thank you for sharing this. So I was like, we need to make an episode about it. And even though everything is getting more expensive and that is just the reality of it, here's the truth is that you get to choose how you relate to this reality. And one thing I see, and one thing I really want, especially for my entire community and the whole pageant industry, is that we stop going into this victim broke mindset. And that we stop asking ourselves, like, why does this cost so much? Why does this have to be going up? Why do I have to do this? It's so unfair. And instead start getting really honest and clear about what we're prioritizing in this season of our life. Because anyone who tells you that they're going into pageants to make money, like to earn money, I should say, I work in pageants, so I do technically make money from pageants. And I completely don't believe that there is not money to be made in pageants because I'm the spitting image of it. And so are so many incredible business owners. But unless if you're in a country like, let's say, the Philippines, that their queens and competitors can literally go compete and make a living, chances are you're going to be investing a hell of a lot more money than you're ever going to be making. Okay, let's just like get that here. And that also means that you get to be so for real with yourself and get to build the skills of learning what matters to you, learning how to invest in yourself, learning how to earn more income so much faster than those that don't. Because let's be real, those who've never had to work for anything that they want don't truly know what it means to invest in something to help them grow into the person who's going to get that. And there's going to be two types of competitors. You're going to continue to see a divide. And we know this, like, right? Like the middle class is like disappearing. And I will say, like, the middle class of pageant competitors is going to be disappearing too when it comes to this. You're going to have the people who complain and who are upset. And then you're going to have the women who are resourceful, who are like, I'm not going to let this get me down. I'm going to let it push me up. And this is just the culture that we live in, where people want, and here, I'm like, here's what I really want to say. And I've been saying this. I'm excited about it. I'm kind of excited about it. I'm like, good. You know what? Not everyone should be winning. Not everyone should have the exact same resources as everybody else because then it wouldn't make the journey as fulfilling, right? If everybody just got the chance to go compete and win. There is an element where I want to know I have to work for it. And this isn't even about anybody else. If you can or can't afford it, I don't know your situation. And quite frankly, I don't want to know. But what I know is that when I want something that's of value, that I know not everybody can have, that I know is going to require me to dig deeper within myself, to invest bigger, to go harder. Like, that's what I want. I don't want a win that just anybody can get. And I don't want it to just be like that attainable, right? Everybody wants fast and easy, and I'm not here for that. I don't need the instant gratification. I want something that I've got to work for that requires the investment, not just the investment of my energy, but the investment of my money. I want to know that I worked for it. So, how committed are you really? And here's a perspective shift that I want you to have in today's episode so that you can walk out of here not being on the side of, I'm so broke, this sucks, this is a lot, this is unfair, because it genuinely irks me so much when I hear this from women at pageants who've already spent all the money. But it's not about how much they spent, it's about the mindset that they're carrying when it comes to the expenses in pageants. And you have to decide. But here's the truth is that when you invest in something, you take it more seriously. And there's this phrase that's cost creates commitment. Whether you believe it or not, it is true. Because when you have money involved, when you have skin in the game, it's going to force you to get really clear, really disciplined, and really in action for what you want. And this is not about privilege. This is not about, oh, like this is not everybody can do this and it should be more accessible. This is not what it's about. This is about total ownership. Because here's the thing I know, especially now that I've been coaching for 7 years, I have done more than enough free trainings, low cost events, low cost programs that I've had hundreds and thousands of women come through. Some have never won, some have never placed. It's hard to track the data on it because it is so much. But if I were to compare all of the low cost things that women have purchased and the results that they've gotten compared to something like our 6 month mastermind, the Queen Collective, that has a 75% placement in the top five and win rate. It is because I know and I see, and it's literally tested right there, that women who are invested show up for what they want. They really do. And if you're someone who feels edgy making an investment, that's okay. That means that when you actually say yes and make that investment, you're going to show up so much more for it. What a gift. What a gift that you're not going to be playing in lukewarm energy and that you're actually going to have a fire lit under you to move and to do the thing that you want to do. Cost creates commitment. And so if you're not willing to invest, where is your commitment at? It's not always like that. It doesn't mean that you're not committed to it, but it's that extra driving motivator that says, I have skin in the game, so I'm going to show up for this. And I've worked with enough women in lower cost ways just to know that the ones who aren't as invested, like they just don't show up in the same way. It's not that they don't want it the same, but they don't show up the same for it. And that's why I'm okay with pageants being expensive. And that if that's not your jam or your vibe, we're probably just not a fit to work together, and that's okay. But even if it's not about the cost, even if it's not about the investment side, here's what I really want for everybody in the industry and for you listening to this is that you choose to rise to the standard of what you want versus resenting what you think you can't have or can't do. Because when something feels expensive, like pageants are, right? This is a fact. It's not a debate. They are pricey. They are an extra expense. Nobody needs to do a pageant. But when something feels expensive, when something feels really stretchy, you have two options. And everybody has two options. One is that you shrink your desire. You tell yourself, I don't need to do this. This is too much. I don't really want it. No, like I'm just going to go back to doing what I was. Or you can expand your capacity and raise the standard for how you're going to make this happen. Winners and queens, and the ones who are leading and going to the top, are not asking life, they're not asking pageants, they're not asking things to cost less. They are rising to meet it. And maybe that is having to budget more. Maybe that is having to work more jobs or pick up more hours. Maybe that is having to host fundraisers and get more sponsors. And that's their way of rising to meet it, making connections, right? Pageants truly are not asking women to be smaller. They're asking you to become more of you, more resourceful. And I'll tell you real quick, like when, you might hear I say, I've done how many pageants now? 11 pageants. I've won six of them. And you might be thinking, Maria, how the heck did you spend like 5 to 8 grand per pageant? And I don't know totally, like, I'm not gonna lie, I've never sat down and like nickel and dimed all of my pageant expenses. Like I just kind of spend and then I go from there. And there's also just different things too, right? Like when I get my nails done every month. I don't count that as a pageant expense. Or um, like one time I hired a personal trainer for a year, even though my pageant was 2 months away. I didn't count that as like a pageant expense. Like that's something that I did because I wanted it year round. It wasn't, so yeah, there's nuances to this, but I'm saying around 5 to 8 grand for the bigger pageants that I did. A lot of people will say, like, how did you do that? Like, I don't understand. Well, here's the one thing is that at this, like, for my entire pageant journey, I've been an adult. I started competing when I was 21. I had graduated nursing that year and I actually had a title that year. So I wasn't even competing in when I was in school. And when I did, it was like two local pageants that I barely spent anything on. But once I started competing in like higher stakes pageants that did require more of an investment, I was working full time. I was working full time, no, not full time. I was working around full time hours, around at 2 to 3 different jobs. I had a nursing job. I was bartending. I was doing different like assistant things at the time. I could go through all of the smorgasbord of different odd jobs that I had. But a huge one I will say was bartending because I worked at a small bar and I made a lot of tips. And it really helped with all of my pageant expenses. One of the best things I did for like 2 years almost when I was competing and saving up. So when I wasn't doing that though, I was hosting fundraisers every single year. Small fundraisers, big fundraisers. When I wasn't hosting fundraisers, I was making sponsorship connections. When I wasn't making sponsorship connections, I was saving up all the money from Christmas and my birthday. And I was telling people, like, don't get me gifts. I want to go and do pageants and I want the things to do pageants, like respectfully and kindly, cash please, cash only please. And my family got it and they were proud and they saw that I really did value the journey and the whole pageant process. And I don't know, my family's cool. Maybe your family wouldn't like that, but tell your family to eat rocks or something. So that's how you make it work. Like you just do. You just say, like, this is my priority and I'm going to make it happen. And I know I've done different podcast episodes about money and investing and around like being able to invest in yourself, but hopefully this is breaking it down in a different way so that you see it's not about wanting less. It's really about becoming more because the end of the day, you can live on either side of the line. You can live in there's not enough. This is so much. This sucks. I'm broke. Or you can live in there's more than enough. Other people are going after it and getting their coin. Why can't I? And I'm going to live from a lens of abundance and resourcefulness and make my own way and find a way to make it work and become more of myself along the journey and be able to give myself a chance to really go after it versus not. But overall, whether no matter how much you're investing, like judges aren't asking that, right? They're not sitting down and it's like, okay, how much did Cheryl spend versus Kathy? Like nobody is also those are like some very big like 1980s, 1990s names, Cheryl and Kathy, more like, I don't know, what are current names? Like Sarah and Olivia. Anyways, random. Pageants are not meant to be easy, no matter how much you're spending on them, okay? It's really meant to shape who you are and what you can hold and your ability to say yes to what it is that you desire without going into this limiting mindset of, oh, well, it's going to take me this in order to do it. But if you want crown level outcomes and you want crowning moments, then you got to make crown level investments and decisions about wanting that and becoming that person. Last thing that I'll leave you with, this was a quote that I found online. I was like, oh, I'm going to share it with you. Expensive does not mean impossible. It means be intentional. Be intentional about the things that you want. Realize that everybody has this opportunity. It's not impossible for anybody. If anybody thinks that it is, go find 5 different examples of people who were in your search, your situation or in your circumstances, but change the reality and change the narrative for them anyways. Be intentional about the things that you want, because guess what? It's all going up anyways. It's all going to be more pricey. So you can decide, am I going to let this hold me down or help me rise up? Let me know if you like this episode. You can send me a DM at the Pageant Gal, and I will see you in the next episode of the Pageant Gal podcast.